Daf Yomi, Tractate Zevachim, page 53. Nun Gimel and Aleph at the top of the page with the words Allah Bakevish. Allah Bakevish upon the Sofer, Ubalo, Lekerim Dromis, Mizrachis, Sifonis. I think we're in the middle of something. We started the Mishnah. That's what it was. Right. We started, let's see here. Yeah. You know what? Let's start the Mishnah. Let's go back to 52b. Let's start the new Mishnah. Here it is. Chataos Hatzibur Yachid Elohein Chataos Hatzibur Seirei Roshi Chadashim Shem Moados Shchita Sam Tzafon Kibul Damam Echisharet B'Tzafon V'Damam Tol Amar B'Tanos Al Arba Kvanos Ketzam. These are the halachot of the communal and individual sin offerings. These are the communal sin offerings. Goats of the new moon and of the festivals. Their slaughters in the north of the temple courtyard. And the collection of their blood is in a service vessel in the north. And their blood requires 4 placements on the 4 corners of the altar. How did the priest do so? And now we're on 53b, 53a on the top. 53a on the top. With the words Allah Bakevish Upanala Sovev. He ascended the ramp of the altar and turned right to the surrounding ledge. Upanala Sovev Ubalo Lekerim Dromis Mizrachis Tifonis Baravis Dromis Shiari Adam Ayushofech Alisod Dromis Benechalin Lefnim Binaklayim. He ascended the ramp of the altar, turned right to the surrounding ledge, and he continued east. And he came to the southeast corner and sprinkled the blood of the sin offering there, and then to the northeast corner and sprinkled the blood there. And then to the northwest corner and sprinkled the blood there, and southwest corner, and he performed the fourth. Sprinkling and descended from the altar. He would pour the remainder of the blood on the southern base of the altar, and the meat portions of the offering are eaten within the curtains, meaning in the temple courtyard by the males of the priesthood, and they are eaten prepared in any form of food preparation on the day of the offering. On the day the offering is sacrificed, and during the night that follows until midnight. That's the Mishnah. Now the Talmud. Hey Chiyavid, how does the priest perform the rite of sprinkling the blood on the corners of the altar? There is a dispute between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Elazar. Chad amar nosen ha'melech, v'chad amar elech, v'chad amar Mechatav Yored. Chadamar Nosin Ama Elech Ve'ama Elech Chadamar Machte Yored Keneged Chudo Shel Keren. How does the priest perform the rite of the sprinkling of the blood on the corners of the altar? There is a dispute between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Elazar. One says that the priest places the blood within a cubit on this side or a cubit on that side. He places the blood wherever he wants, provided that it is within 1 cubit of the corner of the altar. And one says that he sprinkles the blood on the outer edge of the corner of the altar, and it flows down on both sides of the altar. Ali b'der Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon Yaman Yatzma Eino Nasis Ela B'Gufa Shel Keren Kuli Alma Pligi Ki Pligi Ali b'der Rabbi Mar Savar Ama Elech Keneged Keren Hu Umar Savar Keneged Chuda In Tefela. The Gemara comments according to the opinion of Rabbi Elazar, the son of Rabbi Shimon, who says that the sprinkling of the blood of the sin offering itself is performed only on the actual corner, the 1 by 1 cubit projection above each corner of the altar, everyone agrees that the blood may be sprinkled anywhere on the corner, and this will be a fulfillment of the verse, and put it upon the corners of the altar of burnt offering. Leviticus 4:25. When they disagree is only according to the opinion of Yehuda Hanasi, who holds that the blood may be sprinkled anywhere above the red line on the edge of the altar. One sage holds that the blood may be sprinkled on the cubit on either side of the edge, because a cubit on this side and a cubit on that side is still considered to be on the corner. And one sage holds that on its edge, yes, it is fit, but any further on either side is not. Meis ve'chatas hatzibur hayachid ketzad matan daman haya ole lekevesh upedan sofer uvalo leken droi mispes rochis v'toil be'etzboi hayimanis hayimanis shebeimin min adam shebamizrak v'chaber begudol loi milmala ואצבעו קטנה מלמטה, ומחטא ויורד כנגד חודה של קרן, עד שמכלה כל הדם שבאצבע וכן כל קרן וקרן. The Gemara raises an objection to the opinion that one cubit on either side of the edge is still considered on the edge from a Braita. With regard to communal sin offerings and individual sin offerings, how is the placement of their blood on the altar performed? The priest would ascend the ramp on the altar and would turn right to the surrounding ledge, and he continued east, and he would come to the southeast corner, and he would then dip with his right finger, the most dexterous of the right hand, meaning the index finger, of the blood that is in the bowl. He would gather the blood with his thumb above and his smallest finger below. And so it would remain on his finger. And he would sprinkle the blood and remove his hand down the outer edge of the corner until he would finish sprinkling all the blood that was on his finger. And he would act similarly at each and every corner. This Braita states explicitly that the blood must be sprinkled on the actual edge. That's probably hard to do, I would imagine, no? To spray it like this with the finger, like that, looks like, and it has a spritz actually exactly on the edge. Must have incredible aim for that, if that's the case. The blood has to be just exactly, well, it's going to go on one side or the other. To get it exactly in the corner, so it splits in half like that. Anyway, just my remark on that. The Gemara answers, this is what the Braita is saying. How you come on? Okay. The Gemara answers, this is what the Braita is saying. The optimal manner is to perform the mitzvah to sprinkle the blood on the edge of the corner. But if he did the sprinkling on the cubit on this side, we have no problem with it. And he still has to fulfill the mitzvah. Okay, it's better if you get it on the edge and it goes like that. But if it goes and that, it's fine. I would imagine, like I said, it's super hard to get it. It's a spritz blood, so it gets exactly on the edge. I mean, maybe it's one of those miracles that, in the temple they said that everyone would come and there'd be all room for everyone to kneel. Maybe it's one of the mitzvahs, the nisim, the miracles. That all the kahan would do that, would spritz it and go exactly on the edge. Alright, anyway. Okay, right. My Rabbi Umay, Rabbi Lazar, Shimon, Netanya, Dami Hayoinim, Nitalim Bachutz Hasikra, Michut Hasikra, Ulemala, Dami Motachtoinim, Nitalim Michut Hasikra, Ulemata. Divrei Rabbi. The Gemara discusses the aforementioned dispute. What is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, and what is the opinion of Rabbi Elazar? This is that is taught in Braita, Tosefta 6:11. The blood. Oh, gotta bring this in here. The Peel 89 calendar, Tosefta 6:11. On the Peel 89 calendar, it's the 6th of November, and what is it? Box 11. It matches Tosefta 6:11. Whenever it matches the Peel 89, I gotta bring it in. The blood that must be placed, because it's today's Daf, and that's today's number for November 6th. The blood that must be placed on the upper half of the altar, for example, the blood of a sin offering, is placed anywhere from the red line that circumscribes the middle of the altar and above. The blood that must be placed in the lower half of the altar is placed anywhere from the red line or below it. This is the statement of Rabbi Yehuda. See. Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon Amorim Be'oi Lasa'ot Al B'chatas Behema Hi B'asma Ein Asis Ela Al Gufa Shel Keren. The Braita continues. Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon says, in what case is this statement said? It is said with regard to a bird burnt offering, as its blood may be placed anywhere above the red line, but with regard to an animal sin offering, the placement itself must be performed only on the actual corner of the altar. This is based on the verse that states, and the priest shall take of the blood of the sin offering with his finger and put it upon the corners of the burnt offering. Leviticus 4:25. Okay. Continuing. Yeah, I'm gonna be back my time with Rabbi Dichsiv Harel Arba Amos Umeha Harel Ulemala Begomer Arba Amos Dehawai Amar Rabada Barahava Umakom Kranos Arba Havia Ela Ema Yeshua's Kranos Arba. Rabbi Abahu says, what is the reason for the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda on the sea? As is written, and the altar shall be 4 cubits, and from the altar and above there shall be 4 corners. Ezekiel 43 verse 15. The Gemara says, was the altar only 4 cubits wide? Wait a minute. This is really strange, because the people who are talking about Ezekiel 43 in the temple, it's talking about the future temple. So why are they saying here that it applies to the second temple? Apparently, they didn't learn Masechtas Zevachim. They applied the verse of Ezekiel 43:15 to the second temple. That's a good question. The Gemara asks, what was the altar only 4 cubits wide? Rav Ada bar Ahava said the total area of the 4 corners, which were each 1 square cubit, was 4 cubits. The Gemara asks, was the area of the corners 4 square cubits? If the 4 corners would be placed together, the area would be only 2 square cubits. Rather, say that the domain of the corners is 4 cubits. In other words, the verse means that the blood may be sprinkled up to 4 cubits beneath the actual corners of the altar. Tanan ha-samchut shel sikra chol be'emtza lehavdil bein damim ha'alyonin damim ha'tachtoinin meno hanimili Amar Ravacha Rav Katina Shne'emar V'haya Hareshet Al Chatzia Mizbeach. Okay. Torah Natam Mechitza Lahavdil Ve'im Damim Ha'alyonim Nadamim Ha'tachtonim. We learned in the Mishnah there, Midot 35b, a red line circumscribed the altar in the middle to separate between the area for the blood that must be placed on the upper part of the altar in the area for the blood that must be placed on the lower part of the altar. And we're asked, where is this matter derived? Rav Katina said it's derived from a verse, as it is stated, and you shall put it under the ledge round the altar beneath. And the net will reach halfway up the altar. Exodus 27, verse 5. The Torah provided for separation on the altar to separate between the area for the blood placed in the upper part of the altar and the area for the blood placed in the lower part of the altar. Shiare hadam kulei tanarvanan elisod mizbeach ze yisod romi at omer ze yisod romi o eino ela yisod manavi. The Mishnah teaches he would pour the remainder of the blood on the southern base of the altar. The sages taught in a Braita concerning the phrase at the base of the altar, Leviticus 4:30 mentioned with regard to pouring the remainder of the blood of the sin offering of a king. This is referring to the southern base of the altar. The Braita challenges, do you say that this is referring to the southern base, or is it referring only to the western base? Amarta Yilmad Yiridaso Minakevish Tiaso Minahekal Mayitzias Minahekal Samachlo Af Yiridaso Minakevish Samachlo. The Braita suggests, and one can derive the meaning of this unspecified phrase from the meaning of the explicit phrase as follows. You said that one can derive the location of the priest's descent from the ramp of the external altar after sprinkling blood of the sin offering, by comparing it to its exit from the sanctuary with the blood that remained after having sprinkled blood inside the sanctuary. The verse states, with regard to the bull offering of the high priest, and all the remaining blood of the bull he shall pour out at the base of the altar of burnt offering, which is at the entrance of the tent of meeting, Leviticus 4:7. Just as upon his exit from the sanctuary, the priest pours the remainder of the blood on the side closest to him, the western side too, upon his descent from the ramp of the external altar. After sprinkling blood from the sin offering, he pours the blood on the side closest to him, which is the southern side. Tanya, Rabbi Shmuel Omer, Zeh v'zeh Yesod Manavi. Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai Omer, Zeh v'zeh Yesod Rami. It is taught in another Braita. Rabbi Ishmael says this and that, both the remainder of the blood sprinkled inside the sanctuary and the remainder of the blood sprinkled on the external altar are poured on the western base of the altar. Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai says this and that are poured on the southern base of the altar. The Gemara clarifies, granted, according to the one who says that the blood is poured on the western base of the altar, it is clear how he derived this halacha. He holds that one can derive the meaning of an unspecified phrase from the meaning of the explicit phrase. Therefore, just as the remainder of the blood sprinkled inside the sanctuary is poured on the western base of the external altar, the same is done with the remainder of the blood sprinkled on the external altar. El Amanda Amar Yisod Zeromi Maitana Amar Asi Kasavar Haitana Kule Mizbeach Besafon Kai Dishna Achina Kule Petach Bidaram Kai. According to the one who says that the blood is poured on the southern base of the altar, what is the reason? Rabbi Asi said this Tana holds that the entire external altar stands in the north of the temple courtyard. Therefore, the southern base is in the center of the courtyard, opposite the entrance of the sanctuary. This is what the verse is referring to when it says, at the entrance of the tent of meeting, Leviticus 4:7. The Gemara presents another formulation of Rabbi Asi's explanation. The entire entrance of the sanctuary stands in the south of the altar. Accordingly, when the priest exits the sanctuary, the southern base is the first one he encounters.